Welcome to English Storytime Adventures. In today's video, we're going to listen to an exciting short story that will help you improve your English skills. Listen carefully and follow along with the subtitles. Before we begin, here are some key words you'll hear in the story. Pay attention to their meaning and try to use them in your own sentences later. Burgeon. To begin to grow or increase rapidly, flourish. Argue. To express disagreement or discuss something in a heated way. Barely. Only just. Almost not. Hierarchy. A system in which people or things are placed in a series of levels with different importance or status. Now that you're familiar with these words, let's begin the story. Sophia had always loved her quiet life in the small town of River's Edge. It wasn't a place many people had heard of, and that was fine with her. She spent most of her days running a cozy little bookstore, barely making enough money to keep it open, but finding happiness in the simple things. The smell of fresh pages, the soft hum of the radio in the background, and the occasional chat with a curious visitor. One rainy afternoon, just as Sophia was closing up, the bell above the door jingled. She turned around, expecting to see the usual neighbor or passerby, but was surprised when a tall man in a wet coat entered. His face seemed vaguely familiar, though she couldn't place him right away. He smiled awkwardly, shaking the rain from his jacket, then spoke in a low, calm voice. "Sorry, am I too late?" he asked, glancing around the nearly empty shop. Sophia was about to respond when it hit her. This man wasn't just a passerby. He was Owen Mitchell, a famous actor who had starred in several big films. She had seen his face on countless billboards and magazine covers. She tried to stay calm, barely believing he was standing in front of her. "Oh no, it's fine," she replied. "I was just about to close, but please take your time." Owen nodded, a quiet gratitude in his eyes. He began to wander around the small shop, picking up books and flipping through their pages. Sophia, unsure what to say, busied herself by tidying the counter, though she couldn't help but steal glances at him. He moved with the ease of someone used to attention but seemed out of place in the little shop. "I love these small bookstores," Owen finally said, breaking the silence. "They feel more real than the big chains." Sophia smiled. "I guess we're a dying breed, but I like it. It's peaceful." Owen looked thoughtful, as if weighing her words. "I could use some peace right about now," he said softly. "Life gets so noisy sometimes. It's nice to slow down." He paused, then added with a chuckle, "Besides, I've always liked rainy days in places like this." There was a certain warmth to his voice, but it wasn't enough to mask the exhaustion beneath it. Sophia could sense that despite his fame, he wasn't as happy as he seemed. She thought of how the media often portrayed celebrities on top of the world as if their lives were perfect. But here, in her little bookstore, Owen seemed barely able to hide the weight he carried. As they continued talking, the conversation naturally shifted from books to life. Owen told her about the pressures of his career, how the constant attention and demands sometimes made him want to disappear for a while. Sophia, in turn, spoke about the challenges of running a small shop, how the business was slow to burgeon, and how she often worried about keeping it afloat. They argued playfully about the best classic novels, with Sophia insisting that Pride and Prejudice was timeless, while Owen claimed that Moby Dick was the superior masterpiece. Their banter was light, but in those moments, the world outside seemed to fade away, and the small shop became a place where two very different people connected over shared experiences. As the hours passed, Sophia realized she had forgotten all about the time. She didn't care. For the first time in a long while, she felt truly at ease, enjoying the company of someone who, despite his status in the hierarchy of fame, seemed refreshingly down to earth. Eventually, the rain stopped, and Owen glanced out the window. "I should probably go," he said reluctantly, placing a book on the counter. "But I'll be back. This place, it's special." Sophia nodded, smiling softly. "You're welcome anytime." Owen paid for the book and turned to leave, but before stepping outside, he paused. "Thank you for this. I really needed it." Sophia didn't say anything, but she understood. In that brief encounter, they had both found a moment of peace, one that neither of them had expected, but both clearly appreciated. As the door closed behind him, Sophia looked around the quiet shop, feeling a small, hopeful burgeoning in her chest. Life might not always be easy, but sometimes in the most unexpected places, you find exactly what you need. Great job following along with the story. Now, let's review the key words we learned today. Burgeon. To begin to grow or increase rapidly, flourish. Example from the story. The business was slow to burgeon, and she often worried about keeping it afloat. Argue. To express disagreement or discuss something in a heated way. Example from the story. They argued playfully about the best classic novels. Barely. Only just. Almost not. Example from the story. She tried to stay calm, barely believing he was standing in front of her. Hierarchy. A system in which people or things are placed in a series of levels with different importance or status. Example from the story. Despite his status in the hierarchy of fame, he seemed refreshingly down to earth. Now, let's check your understanding of the story. See if you can answer these questions. Question 1. What challenge did Sophia face in the story, and how did it affect her? Question 2. How did Owen influence Sophia's perspective, and what role did their conversation play in the story? Question 3. What emotional or personal realization did both characters experience by the end of the story? Question 4. How would you describe the atmosphere of the bookstore during the encounter between Sophia and Owen? Can you suggest another word for it? Feel free to pause the video and write down your answers in the comments. Great work today. Well done. You've just completed another story with English Storytime Adventures. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more fun and educational stories. And don't forget to leave a comment with your thoughts or answers to the questions. I'd love to see how much you've learned. Keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next episode of English Storytime Adventures. Until then, happy learning.